fighting games, we're kinda used of people using arcade sticks and pads. But in recent years, all button type controllers are getting in. One controller stood out the most is the Hitbox. The Hitbox came with many names: the all-purpose no flaw, the one-way ticket to winning, and the most famous one, the cheat box. Essentially, Hitbox has been the talk of the community because how easy to use, how dominant the people who are using it, and most importantly, how this controller reshapes the game that we play in terms of technical and also skill. Now, Hitbox is not new. Hitbox has been around for more than a decade, but in recent years, Hitbox getting famous and noticed by many. So what is Hitbox? Well, essentially, Hitbox is an all-button type controller, meaning you don't have a lever. Now, it may sound weird, but in terms of practicality, Hitbox is one of the most efficient controllers. Now, if we look at an arcade stick, if you want to go from left to right, you have to travel from left, neutral, and then right. But on a Hitbox, you can instantly go from left to right. Now, this kind of thing is impossible if you play an arcade stick. Although pads can instantly move from left to right, it is still slower than Hitbox, and that's the reason why Hitbox is famous for. Now, there is a reason why I'm taking me so quite some time to make this video. For some reason, if I make this video without owning an all button type controller or a Hitbox, it's kinda unfair and narrows my perspective on Hitbox. Recently, I just owned a Hitbox style controller. Now, legally, I cannot say this is a Hitbox, but this is the closest thing to a Hitbox. This is my all-button type controller. The reason why I cannot say this is a Hitbox is that in legally terms of engineering and design, this is not a Hitbox, but this is the closest thing to a Hitbox. What makes the Hitbox famous because of how instant movement but also the inputs. You see, if you play older fighting games, if you input left and right at the same time, most of those old fighting games will input both two inputs or even sometimes the last input. Now, what makes a lot of people mad is because the last input, it turns out to be the last winning button option. If you walk forward and press back at the same time, you literally go back faster and block your opponent much more easier.
That was easy.
Technically, it is possible to do with pad, but it takes a lot of time to practice and you have to put your hand on a weird grip to utilize it. But that's not all. This kind of technique is beneficial for those who use a charging character. The most famous charging character of all fighting games is none other than Guile. You see, Guile needs to press back first, then press forward to use his motion input. Guile is famous for having Sonic Boom. If the controller uses the last input, that can make Guile can charge second Sonic Boom much more faster than on arcade stick or pad.
Combo breaker is time! No, coach, no. This is esports! You think esports? This is FTC!
It's 2019 Combo Breaker. Daigo Umehara the Beast is entering the tournament of Street Fighter V. A lot of people knew that he will use a Hitbox, but what's surprising is that's the setting that he used. Daigo Gaffro Box has a setting that he inputs on the last input. So, basically, not only he is much more faster charging his Sonic Boom, but he is also more precise when guard walking. Now, Daigo's controller is SOCD, but he put the setting on the last input option. When Capcom figured out what Daigo did, Capcom intervened and gave him a warning: either use an arcade stick or be disqualified. Now, normally Daigo could use a normal Hitbox, but he didn't own one, so he had to use his old fight stick. Surprisingly, he finished at 17 while using his old fight stick. Now, I said Daigo Grapple Box using SOCD, but what is SOCD? SOCD stands for Simultaneous Opposite Cardinal Direction. It refers to an input mechanism that is sometimes used on fight sticks and Hitbox. Essentially, SOCD is a way to handle a situation where a player might be pressing opposing directional inputs at the same time. Now, what SOCD does is clean those inputs to make sure that the input that always comes is 1, not 2. Now, essentially, if you turn on SOCD, then press left and right at the same time, it will come out as a neutral. But even adding SOCD doesn't release Hitbox with the term of cheating. Yes, what you see is a 4-frame super. Yes, a 4-frame, which is impossible to do a 4-frame super on a fight stick. So essentially, many people assume this is cheating. But from my perspective, I don't think this is cheating. It's more like a technique that you found out, then you utilize it because it's still SOCD and it's still legal on CPT or any kind of tournament that still use SOCD, as they are on all button type controllers. The reason why I said this is not cheating is because of the execution, how you slide the motion of your hand, how do you practice the buttons what to input and the timing. To me, this takes skill and practice to execute. My thoughts on Hitbox is quite fun, and this perspective came from the person who used different type of controllers. To me, learning Hitbox takes some time to be familiar. Transitioning from that WSD to a Hitbox takes time and practice because I'm not using my thumb as jump. So what's the future of the FGC? I think I could say that Hitbox will stay for a long time, and this just not came from only me. This coming from the people who owns Hitbox and competing professionally. Recently in EVO 2022, out of the top 8 in Street Fighter V, 5 of them using Hitbox, including 2 legendary players, Daigo Umehara and Tokido. Also including EVO 2022 Street Fighter V champion Kawano. Now, will Hitbox conquer all? Well, to be fair, I'm not so sure. Even though Hitbox has more accessibility than most sub controllers, and it's getting popular with the most prestigious fighting game players, but I will say not all of them in. As I said, new controller needs dedication and practice. Even Daigo early days using Hitbox still struggles to do simple combos. Honestly, I'm really rooting for the future. Because some people use Hitbox not just only getting stronger, but also use it because of the condition they have, like arthritis. I believe this type of controller bridge not just only the new players, but also the old players as well. Thanks for watching this video. This is Ryuji signing off.